What is up, RotoGrinders? Dean here. That's Dean78904. If you want to get all technical, that is the daily fantasy handle. Hopefully, doing some damage in some GPPs tonight in the Mlb Dfs streets. Of course, this is the start of 2+ hours nonstop Mlb Dfs conversation, taking y'all straight up to lock. Big boy slate, not messing around. It's a 14-gamer. It's the trade deadline. None of us, not myself, not TJ Zwarich, not Tasteful Tides Tim, none of us have been traded just yet. Still 55 minutes until the buzzer. We'll see how that goes. So you have your phone on handy just in case. But TJ, yeah, it's not messing around. You were on the morning grind last night. You're still filling in for Stevie. Is that done? When is he coming back? Stevie's coming back soon, right?
Yeah, I don't know exactly when he's coming back. I think maybe it is next week. I'm not sure, but I am on most of the week this week, and I'll actually be on again tonight for the Wednesday show with our guy right here, Tim.
There you go. How angry would Tim have been? I don't know if you know this. I was going to troll the show. I listened to you last night, and I was going to get some valuable information and steal your takes and obviously repackage them for this show. But so TJ, amateur hour TJ, it wasn't his first time hosting this show. He was so tilted because apparently, go ahead. You go ahead. Talk about it.
So let me break just down my entire evening for you. I had the morning grind planned into my head, 10 Eastern time all day. And at about 9:30 Eastern, I'm just watching some TV and I just forget. I was telling Keith after the show that I think my ADHD meds must have just run their course through my bloodstream, and there was just nothing left up there, and I just forgot about a half hour before the show. And so at about 10:45 Eastern, Keith fires me a message and he's like, "Hey man, you almost ready?" And I was like, "Yep, damn, I'm ready right now." Whoops. And I run down the stairs, fire up the YouTube stream, make a tweet. We're ready to go, start breaking down the slate. 25 minutes in, I'm chatting with the YouTube chat, not even realizing that the screen right beside the YouTube chat, nothing's happening. And so we were breaking the slate down for 25 minutes. We go through, I think, 7 or 8 of the games, and just to no one. It wasn't recording. We weren't live, so we finally go live. Get through the slate. I forgot one of the games. We got it back at the end, though. I accidentally made the YouTube name July 1st instead of August 1st. I get up, and all the while, I have an almost perfect home run, combination of home run parlay round robins going. I had Alvarez hit one, Olsen hit one, Gunnar Henderson hit one, Brandon Lau hit one, and so the only one I didn't have was Sal Frelick. He didn't hit one. So going into these last games, I have 3 Red Sox, Yoshida, Devers, and Cassis to hit home runs. I got 3 Padres, and that game is playing. And so, and I have Tatis, Machado, and Sanchez to hit home runs in that one. One of those guys hit a home run. It's a 4-figure day. 2 of them do. It's a 5-figure day. 3 or more, it's a 6-figure day. No home runs out of any of them. Still doubled up, but no home runs out of any of those guys. Go upstairs after the morning grind, and the animals, I don't know if it was the cat that knocked it down and the dogs ate it, or if the dogs got up on a chair and knocked it down, but I had a pizza that my dad brought over earlier in the evening, and I didn't get to eat any of it. They ate all of it while I was doing the morning grind. So it was just one thing after another, just knocking me while I'm down. It was a tough evening.
It had to be the dogs, by the way, eating the pizza. The cats aren't going to eat an entire
pizza. No,
pizza.
The cats didn't eat the pizza, but they might have knocked it off the table. They collaborate sometimes.
Yeah, and 10 seconds or 8 seconds. I'm not sure the official count is in Canada. Is there a 10-second rule in Canada? What's the rule there up there in Canada?
The entire pizza was gone by the time I got upstairs. There was no rules. The entire pizza was gone.
Oh, it's not that it was even tainted. It was just that it was gone. It was
gone.
All right, fair enough. Yeah, I think it was the dogs for sure. Tim, yeah, so there you go. I didn't realize that would be a whole story. I knew there was I knew some of that. But
it was just me taking L's from 10 p.m. Eastern on for the rest of the night. And the night was going so great before that. 2 Spidey bombs, all my home run picks were going. DFS picks, I doubled up last night. So it was everything was going good. And from a sports standpoint, it still was good. It was a profitable night, but it looked like it was going to be a big one. I messed up on the morning grind. Dogs ate all my food. Oh. New day.
Shout out to those hanging out in chat. I see Mr. Donk, and I don't know what I said to Mr. Donk, but apparently I inspired him. I'm taking credit for it. Mr. Donk is saying Dean was talking S about me. I guess that's smack, or there's another dirty word you can't say. About me living up to the Donk name, and then I go ship the Fanduel GPP yesterday. Take that.
Ooh.
So shout out, Mr. Donk. Look, if I inspired you, you're welcome. I don't know what I did, but maybe
is that the reverse mush? Did you reverse mush him? Is that what
I don't know. I mean, look, I don't have the ability to mush anybody. I know mushes aren't real. I know
that's all. That's not true, Dean.
If they were real, I would be like Biff Tannen. I would be a billionaire. You know, they're not. I don't have that capability, unfortunately.
That's part of the capability you have is you don't get to use it when you try and it's only a mush when it's a accidental and it just comes out of your mouth. When you actually try and capitalize on it, it won't happen because you're mushing your mush.
Isn't that convenient though? Isn't that really
that's how the universe works?
I don't think that's how it does.
I don't make rules.
I don't think that. Well, you just did make a rule. That was a complete nonsense.
No, I didn't make it. That's just the rule of the universe that I'm filling you in on. I'm just the messenger.
What did Mr. Donk take down, by the way? And they're doing Gutless power rankings. I see Kirkwood hanging out in chat. I saw Kirkwood.
So Kirkwood's got Baltimore #1, I'm sure, right? He's got to be number one Gutless team. Is he still on?
Baltimore's most Gutless? It's got the mess, right?
According to Kirkwood, he's always talking about how Gutless Baltimore is. He was
taking shots at them because their schedule was too easy. I know that's something he was talking about. I think he's off that. I'm not certain, but I think so. He's on to other things now. Mr. Donk wants to know who I'm mushing tonight. Well, we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it. I'll tell you, I actually have a couple of mush plays. We'll dig into it. A couple of really popular plays. 14 gamer, Tim. Big boy slate, not messing around, right? And I say 14. We're probably going to keep 14. We'll see. Chief mineralogist Kevin Roth, he actually lowered the risk of Colorado. Colorado, of course, last night, they played in the rain. They didn't care. Colorado at home versus the Padres. Earlier today, I believe Roth had it at straight orange. He has since updated it, and it's yellow-orange now. I can go ahead and drop this in the chat. You guys can read this at your own leisure, but feel a little bit better about this game getting in. There are plenty of pivots away from it if, it gets dicey as we progress and move up to lock. 14 gamer tonight, Tim. Spencer Strider, the greatest pitcher in the world, versus the greatest offenses ever assembled. The Angels, I'm told, are incredible. We'll see how that goes down. Strider, historic K rate on the season, almost 40%, which is completely ludicrous. That's like 6% higher than anybody in baseball that qualifies as far as starters. I think Gausman's number 2. Shout out to those Blue Jays. On this slate, it's almost 10%. It's he's expensive, he's pricey.
Bichette is fine. We acquired DeJong just in case, but no structural damage. He's day to day. Bo Bichette's knee is fine. Everyone can breathe a big sigh of relief. I feel like we got to bring Steven to congratulate him on, even though they had to pay the Astros $50 million to do it, they got rid of Scherzer and Verlander's contracts.
Yeah, how about that? Having some foresight, because there's a season next season. After this year, there's actually going to be baseball in 2024. The Mets realize that, and it's like, hey, maybe we should look to the future because our team is lost this year. Imagine that.
This is the first time I've been on a show where you've gone crazy about the Angel stuff. I've only been a viewer for the other ones. One of the things I will say that just because, of course, you hate nuance. You're not a fan of nuance whatsoever.
Love nuance.
I feel like you always fail to take into account, and maybe this can segue to a point that Tim had about Eduardo Rodriguez as well. I don't think we talked about that on air yet, right? That was just off air. But maybe Shohei just likes Anaheim and he wants to stay there.
Yeah, you'd think you would have signed a contract if that was the case.
I mean, his agent is probably saying, wait till the offseason so you can maximize how much money you get.
Sure.
Maybe he just wants to stay. See. And maybe he's told them that, and so that's why they're doing these things. It's not quite as cut and dry, I don't think, as like, you have X%, and that's not a good percent. Why are you going for it? They get a little bit better. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't, but maybe he just wants to stay there regardless, so it's not that big of a deal.
You can tell yourself a story. You can make it story time. You've making up stories already in the show, so keep on making up those stories. I don't pretend to know. I have no idea. But I think the likelihood is that what you're saying is wrong. Well, he probably likes it, but like he'll like other places too. is the other
Maybe.
point. But, and LA is not too far away from Anaheim. It's like a 30-minute drive, 40-minute drive, depending on, right? So probably would like LA just as much.
Maybe
Basically
he
the same
likes
weather.
his teammates and he wants to stay.
Which teammates?
All of
He likes
them.
CJ Crone. He run him
Maybe,
over. He had a great first
maybe they have
impression.
dinner every week, Dean.
Oh man. Well, we should table this conversation. We can't keep doing this. But I made it very clear how I feel about it. You made it very clear that you don't think the Angels should care about next season because they should go into the year with the absolute worst prospects in all of baseball.
A little bit close.
That's what I heard.
Said. That's
Tim
why these arguments are always so terrible, because that's what you hear.
Tim actually made an interesting point pre-show. That's why we're a couple minutes late. We couldn't understand, or at least I couldn't understand, why Erod would not want to go to the Dodgers. But Tim was like, "Well, Tim, you tell him why you think." And I think you made a good point. And I think it's valid, because Erod was traded to LA, the Dodgers, and he said, "No, I don't want to go," and he has a no trade clause. By the way, why is Detroit giving out no trade clauses? Does Baez have one as well? Not sure. But Tim, your thoughts as far as Erod saying no thank you?
I think he just doesn't want to be in the spotlight, to be honest with you. I think he just wants to pitch meaningless games into Detroit. And like, why put yourself under that kind of pressure? You just come back from a potentially career-ending injury regarding his heart a couple years ago. And I think he's just now getting some of his traction back. And I think he just wants to stay. And I think that, why else would you not want to contend for a World Series? That doesn't make any sense to me, other than the fact that you just don't want to be there. So, that's just me speculating. But I think that there's
I don't want to be here.
Right? It's like I think he just would rather just stay in Detroit.
We're keeping our eye on as far as transactions, players that have been traded, players that will be traded going forward. Again, up to 6 o'clock. Berger was kind of a big one. Jake Berger being scratched. He's got to be scratched. I have not seen the official scratch, but getting traded to the Marlins. One of the cheapies in the slate is Andrew Heaney. This White Sox lineup is going to get at least incrementally worse with the absence of Berger. We'll see who else is on the move. I did see Mark Canha in the lineup today from Milwaukee. They just acquired him the other day. Doesn't really matter. Just kind of acknowledging that, it's interesting to see how the pieces are going to get moved around. A lot of it's pitching stuff related. Doesn't really matter. Like Verlander getting traded, Scherzer getting traded. I guess the Cardinals are being proactive because I think that what's his name was supposed to be the starter, and they ended up going with Michaelis because I'm losing the name now. The guy that's it's incredibly wild. Once upon a time, he was really good. Well, we'll see if he gets traded. I'm just losing his name. Padres lineup is out, by the way. It just dropped. We have Kim leading off, playing second, by the way, not DHing tonight, actually in the field. They're dropping 2 catchers because Sanchez is DHing. It's Kim, Tatis, Soto, Machado, Bogarts, Cronenworth, Campusano, Gary, Sanchez, and Grisham. All right. So they also traded their backup, first baseman, Rivas. Is that his name? He was traded today, so their bench a little bit thinner, unless they called somebody up, and I'm not really sure how that works. But just acknowledging that he was potentially going to start, but he's not starting, and no Carpenter if you're hoping for some cheap Matt Carpenter potentially. Tim, talk to me about the slate. It's loaded. It's got Spencer Strider. There are some other, de facto kind of sort of somewhat aces on this slate as well that are a little bit cheaper. Pablo Lopez being one of them. The mid-tier is pretty strong. We have a very, very chalky Lance Lynn making his debut for the Dodgers. Lynn, of course, has been a certifiable disaster this year. You can say he's been unlucky. His home with the fly ball stuff's been unlucky. But he's facing one of the worst teams in baseball in Oakland. That's one of the stands I'm taking, I think, in tournaments. We'll talk about it. But, Tim, you give me, the screenshot. What's your view as far as this slate? A lot going on. 14 games. Give me the, kind of the preview. What are we going to talk about?
Yeah, there's a lot of different things going on in this slate. Huge slate. A lot of different ways that you can go in cash games and GPPs on both Fanduel and DraftKings. It's clearly Strider is obviously like the number one. I don't think he is necessary cash games, but I don't think by any means he's necessary in GPPs. because there's just so many other options. So it's like he's not like, I don't think he's like a must play. I think if he's going to be like, I don't know, 40, I think the bat has him as like 40% owned. I wouldn't like make myself get too overweight that, to be honest with you. There are other pitchers like Zach Gallen I like quite a bit. I like Freddie Peralta quite a bit. And then I think Lance Lynn is going to be such an interesting kind of component to this slate, because a lot of the things that like Lance Lynn brings, or at least brought previously, was a long leash, and I wonder if he's still going to have that same leash with the Dodgers. I wonder if they're still going to utilize him in that same capacity. Like the bat has him for 109 pitches. Our projections have him for 100. So it's kind of like there's a little bit of a kind of discrepancy there about whether or not this leash is going to be as long. And also there's really, really great pivots, I think, kind of in similar price ranges on both sites, whether that be Andrew Heaney. And then I think Alex Cobb is going to be completely forgotten about on DraftKings at 8,200, because people are either going to be playing Lance Lynn at 79 or Heaney at 66. So I really, really like Alex Cobb. I think Carlos Rodon on both sites is a really, really strong tournament option. Like, we haven't seen anything good from him lately, but the point is to be ahead of the game and get out in front of really, really strong plays before ownership catches up. So I think if I'm making, 20 teams, like, I would definitely be over the field at 6%. Like, he's going to be very, very low owned.
Yeah, that's a interesting point you made about Rodon, because I think earlier in the day his ownership was higher, and it's since dropped throughout the day. And I thought I kind of like the idea of picking on him if he was going to be pretty popular. I still don't think I'm playing him. I'm not sure, but yeah, he's been bad so far in a small sample. The Lynn thing, by the way, he's currently, as far as ownership, him and Strider are like 1 and 1A on DK. That's probably your cash game pairing. Strider at 39%, Lynn at 38%. I presume, Tim, you're probably playing cash games on DK. If yes, is that your pairing, or are you still kind of figuring it out?
Yes, I am on DK. I am playing cash, and yes, that is going to be my pairing. But I mean, it's like I don't feel great about Lynn, but I am going to do it just because it's such a large slate, and there are a lot of bats that I want to get up to. So I mean, it's the savings. And I am very curious to see what they do with his pitch count, though. Like, I don't think this is going to be the guy for the Dodgers that throws like 110 pitches. So I think they're going to be, I wouldn't be shocked to see them pair, kind of like be a little bit more reserved with him.
I think it depends like how well he's doing. It just sounds like a simple thing, but like, and also it's his first game with LA, and if he's like through 6 pretty clean and he's thrown like 95 pitches and he went unscathed, like they want him to leave like emotionally on a high, you know what I mean? He probably wouldn't go back out there. Obviously, if he's getting his face punched in, he would get the hook as well too. But I think it's kind of like they probably want him to leave, feeling good about himself, however that means, if that makes sense. But and you never really know how that's going to work out. But I do agree with the thought. He probably doesn't get to 109. Not that you need it, right? He's priced for he doesn't have to throw 100 pitches, and the matchup, of course, is good here against Oakland as well. TJ, we're running 150. What are we doing? We're having some fun MMing tonight.
Running 300 today, Dean.
What?
I'm max entering the Mega Mini Max or whatever it's called, the $3 one, as well as the Mini Max, the 50-cent one, and then I'm playing a single entry team as well.
Okay, so how big is the pitcher pool? It's got to be. Well, you know what? I'm going to set the over under. Let's see. You're running 300 pitchers.
Not 300 pitchers, no.
Oh, yeah, that would be tricky. Good luck if you can figure that out. A lot of relievers. That's a bold strategy, Cotton. So you're running 300 lineups. I think your pitching pool is about. When you make the two different, I wonder, do you make them distinctly different? Like you say, this one I want, I'm going to have a bunch of cores. And this one I'm going to have no cores. And this one I'm going to pay up like lock button Strider. This one no Strider. I've never done it before. As far as like the two. Okay. Oh, okay. I guess. Okay, fair enough. Never mind. All right. So I'm going to set the number of pitchers in your pitcher pool at 10.5. and Tim is going to bet the over or the under.
Over.
Is it 11?
You guys are sharp. Great line, great bet. 11 is my pool.
Yeah.
It's a big slate. There's a lot of options.
There is a lot of options.
And I'm going to be overweight on the vast majority because I'm fully fading Lance Lynn.
I like it. Well, I mean, I don't know if you heard, I was kind of insinuating, and I wrote about this in the expert survey today. I'm not going to have a lot of Lance Lynn. 38% Lance Lynn. I understand why, he's hitting models. Totally get it. I know Oakland's putrid. I know he's been unlucky, but the numbers are still the numbers. I think there is some lefty power there on the Oakland side. I think he's fun to attack. I like that. And I assume that's your thought process as well. Like he's been, pretty bad, and 39% ownership. The full fade on 300 lineups is ambitious, but I like it. I like the big swing. Further elaborate on that as far as not playing Lance Lynn today.
So it's twofold. I was originally considering playing Lance Lynn just because even though he's been terrible, I don't really care about the ERA. I care about the strikeouts. He could give up 4 or 5 runs, but strike out 10 Oakland players and salvage himself a very good day for that price. But the reason I'm fully fading him is 40% ownership, almost 40% ownership. It's a 14-game slate. The chance that he is the second, is it top 2, is the best point per dollar pitcher, it's not 40%. And so I'm playing a lot of Oakland. I'm fully fading Lynn to get different. And that's just the thing. There's 11 players in my pitching pool. I want to actually make sure I'm getting enough of each of these guys in my pool in lineups. And so Xing out Lynn, a guy that the optimizers would probably give me 30% of, is a pretty good way of making sure I'm getting the exposure to the tournament plays that I want. You are muted.
Where are you at as far as Strider? I'm not even asking if he's on the board. Of course, Strider's on the board. It's a matter of how much percent you have of Strider. He's at 40%. Are you kind of with the field? Are you going to be well over? Last I saw, his number is from Vegas, his total for Ks was 9.5. Juice was on the over as well. He's just in his own world of strikeout ability, and not having him could be troublesome if he's just on one. And those things, even if he gives him a homer or two, a solo job, and he still can strike out 10, 11, 12. And just you kind of sort of need Strider, those raw points. And you mentioned point per dollar. That's more of a basketball question. I get it for baseball, sure. But, if Strider puts up a 40 spot, you're going to want some of that. Are you taking a stand or are you kind of with the field as far as 40%?
I'm about with the field there. I'm comfortable enough with Lynn being my stand that I don't want to go underweight on Strider because Strider's ceiling is breaking the entire slate, having 12 more fantasy points than any other pitcher on the board. The other reason is because when I was fiddling around trying to build a single entry, I'm rolling with Strider there too, because it's really not that hard to play him. Yes, he is 12.5K, but I feel like in general, the pitching prices are pretty good this slate, but the bats, they're pretty soft. And so I got a 5-man Dodger stack with Strider, and I really like the rest of my team with it. So I'm feeling pretty good about going with Strider today, just because I don't find it that hard to get to him. I like a lot of cheap stacks.
Some of those Dodgers are actually really cheap. And I assume, I'm going to guess, in your 5-man Dodger stack, you probably have 3 of Enrique Hernandez, Ahmed Rosario, Chris Taylor, and James Outman. You have 3 of those guys?
I do. I have 3. Exactly 3.
Yeah, and you probably have bets and maybe either Smith or Freeman. I don't know which one you have, but you have one of those 2.
That's the thing. I can play Strider with Smith and Betts. To me, I'm great. That's all the okay I need to say fire up as much Strider as possible.
Question, and I'll bring Tim into this as well. Just I know we're talking pitchers, but general thoughts. JD Martinez not in the lineup today. I want to know how available he is, if he's available to pinch hit. But Waldichuk's a lefty for Oakland. Their bullpen is all right-handed except for Sam Long, who they just traded for, which is weird. They traded for somebody, which was kind of confusing. I think he's available tonight, but I'm not certain. But I believe he is. He's the only lefty there. A righty's going to come in for Oakland, right? And we already saw this with Kike Hernandez. I believe we saw it with Rojas as well. Kike and Taylor seem like the most likely suspects. And there's David Peralta and there's Jason Hayward lurking on the bench. Anybody have a take as far as like how concerned we are about, Kike or Taylor just getting 2 ABs and that's that because a righty's going to come in? Tim, have you thought about this? These are possible cash plays, I guess. Is that a concern for you when you're making cash lineups?
So it would be Chris Taylor or Rojas that I think that the bat has as the highest pinch hit risk. They got Rojas at 25% and Taylor at 22%. They weren't really on my cash game board, so I hadn't really thought about it too much. I guess Chris Taylor might be a cash game play, but I really don't like that he's third base outfield now. Like, remember when he used to be like second base, shortstop? Yeah, but like this, like him at third, like third is always such a huge opportunity cost in that position. So like, and so is outfield, obviously. So I don't know. Like, I mean, Taylor and Rojas would be like the primary guys to get pinch hit for, but they weren't really on my cash game radar.
Interesting. I saw people hyping up Taylor, and he got a decent spot there in the lineup. But yeah, I'm just a little bit cautious about it. And TJ, your thoughts on it? Obviously you're playing him, you don't care, but is there any level of concern, or just you're shooting for optimal outcome and that's that?
Rojas is not in my pool, but I don't really care. It's I'm shooting for optimal outcome, and so I'm not very worried about it.
All right, back to pitchers. Let's play the feud here with TJ.
Before we continue, let's knock off Spidey Bomb at number 1 because we got over 50 likes already. We got the second one coming at 100 likes, but the first Spidey Bomb we are going to Steve's Mets, fresh off the good juju, getting rid of those expensive contracts. And we're going with Francisco Lindor. You can get him for plus 470 on FanDuel. He is Spidey Bomb number 1 today.
Mr. Smile taking on future Hall of Famer Zach Greinke there in Kansas City. By the way, several people have asked about the weather in Coors. I've dropped that in chat a couple times. Just feel free to scroll up. Roth, as of his last report, has it at yellow-orange. Nothing really else going on. Winds from right.
That does remind me, I have a Tater. If anybody would like a Tater.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah, I do. And TJ reminded me, because it's from the same game. I like Brandon Nimmo at plus 600. That's my Tater. That's my Tater for the day.
Just if you're ever curious, the people want the Tater, they don't want the Tater, err on the side. They always want the Tater. I know Steve's got the graphic if that's available too.
The taters have been ice cold though. I mean, it's like nobody wants a cold tater, So
you want a crispy tater. I think the crispness is
right.
There you go.
That's right. There you go, Steve. Nice work.
He's on top of it. He's paying attention. Brandon Nimmo is Mets. Of course, he's all over it. He's very excited to put that up there on the board. Other pitchers here that are in the pool here, TJ. By the way, let's play this game. You have a single entry lineup, TJ. You talked about it. You said you're going to have Strider with your Dodgers. Tim, I'm going to guess that his second pitcher to make this all work is Andrew Heaney. Would you agree with that, or you think it's somebody else? You're correct,
but maybe don't give away my entire lineup. Here you are trying to beat my lineup.
I used to do showdown shows with Blunder, and he used to make me say my team on air. And like he would literally, he would make me say my entire team on air before the game would start.
Well, I mean, he didn't make you physically, but you just sort of like he strong-armed you into doing it, I suppose. Well, you probably said I got $1,600 left, that kind of thing, or did you kind of just use playing 20
and then he would tell me how dull I was, and and I was like,
he called you dull?
I mean, pretty much.
You realize 3 other people out of 10 billion are going to have that lineup?
Exactly. Well,
I mean, not only are you trying to dupe me, but you gave Steve credit when I'm the one who put Tim's Tasty Taters up there.
Wait, oh, you did that?
Yeah, that was me.
Why? I don't know who gave. I see Devin hanging out in chats. Was there a vote? Who gave you the ability?
He's trying to steal my job.
Dude, yeah, I'm doing the morning grind every day. How else do you think I'm supposed to do it without access to this stuff?
I think I don't want to say it out loud, but I think TJ might be getting too big for his britches. Britches? What's
There's
that saying that they say in the
There's a
South?
reason your name was floated around at trade deadline, Dean. You might be offended.
Dean has a no trade. You know, Dean has got a no trade clause. Like there's no doubt about that.
Well, I got the bird rights, right? I've been around long enough, I think, is the rule.
You don't get a show 5 days a week and not have a no trade. I mean, that's just not gonna happen.
Did I get that saying right? Does anybody I don't know that saying that I was talking about? Anybody, what are breeches? Like their pants? Not really sure what they are exactly. Breeches. Okay. All right, we'll move on. Like it never even happened. All right, so I did basically give your lineup. But it's an Oakland mini stack with Dodgers. That's what it is, right, DJ?
No, it's not. I did look at that though, and then I thought, I like something else a little bit better.
All right, I'm going to pay attention and context clues. I'm going to figure out your lineup before this show is over, and I'm going to dupe you for sure. That is funny though, Tim, that you and Blender, because Blender's playing in those massive contests, and you're playing in, the 300-man contests where you don't think too crazy, too goofy, and single entry stuff. So you guys must have had like a fun dynamic for those showdown shows. Not too long until we're going to be having those again. Hopefully they pair you guys together once more. What is our favorite SP2? Okay,
I want to hear TJ's take, because I was wondering if it wasn't going to be Heaney. Do you have Oviedo in your pool?
I do. I have both of them, and they are my newest build just came in, and they are my second and third highest owned pitchers.
Yeah, I like Oviedo quite a bit.
He's not in my pool. Don't convince me he should be. Like, he's fine, but he just seems grossly unnecessary, Tim. Well, why should I be?
I mean, let me ask you this: is Heaney in your pool? I mean, is like,
yeah,
and given the ownership difference between those two, that's the only argument really. And it is Detroit. It's not like he's facing, he's got a good matchup. So I mean that would really be my only argument. Like, is Heaney a better pitcher? Like, yes, obviously, but Heaney's also going to be extremely popular. So it's like, I think Oviedo makes a lot of sense in a large field GPPs.
Cheap and in a good matchup, and like this is something that I've been talking about quite a bit. Kirk Dees has been talking about quite a bit. I'm not going to give you any info in his model, Dean. As even you're going to try and ask. I know he's not here. You're going to try and get it out of me.
The dew point model does not exist
on the dew point model. I'm sorry, but it's August. It's hot, and it's tougher for pitchers to put up big scores. And so paying down at pitcher has been a very worthwhile strategy the last week or two. And so that's one of the reasons Oviedo's in my pool. He's very cheap, and he's got a very good matchup.
By the way, we have two, speaking of weather models, per Weather Edge, Chief Meteorologist Kevin Roth, his Weather Edge tool. Kansas City's got a fire emoji. Now, like in the sample, nothing's really popping, but there is a fire emoji. 89 degrees, dew point 76, 8 miles per hour, kind of blowing in from right center field. I like to see the fire emoji. And in St. Louis, also getting the fire emoji there. 169 game sample. Again, nothing really moving as far as the needle, but just the fire emoji does exist. And Michaelis does not miss bats. Minnesota is kind of one of those sneaky teams that like nobody's playing today because it's a massive slate. Just kind of throwing it out there. And there's some cheap Minnesota bats. They're kind of like, Oakland has some cheap stuff. Minnesota's got some cheap stuff. And Michaelis, again, he uses like guile. He's kind of like a young Zach Greinke. He's not going to miss any bats. And he's just on those BABIP gods. Maybe Minnesota is that sneaky, like little mini stack to kind of get stuff done as far as salary. Helps you get Dodgers, helps you get Braves or Coors, more specifically San Diego. Let's move on to more pitchers, though. Zach Gallen, it seems like a really interesting pivot. And TJ, I feel like I heard you talk about this before. And, the splits for Zach Gallen are pretty dramatic from a K perspective. And the projected lineup for San Fran, no official lineup just yet. This game's at 9:45 on the East Coast. We still have 4 hours until that game starts. But I think they're projected to roll out like 6, maybe 7 lefties. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 by my UCF math. And Zach Gallen striking out 28% of lefties. That's as opposed to 23.7% of righties. Been kind of reverse splitsy, good ballpark to pitch in as well. You got to pay for him, but like Lopez is another potential pivot. But I have not tried to see if I can get Gallen and Strider. That feels like a lot of fun. But TJ, I assume Zach Gallen is in your pool. How much Zach Gallen do you have
in my pool? Yes, but I only have about 5%.
Is that because it's a salary and you can't get there? Do you want more or not really?
Yeah, I would like more, but Strider's my priority. He's my number one guy today. I just don't think Gallen has the ability to go 35 points today like Spencer Strider potentially could. And so I'm not as worried about him breaking the slate. I think there's other guys who can match what he does. And so I do like Gallen. I have the 5% for in case he does hit his ceiling game and goes for 12 strikeouts in 8 innings. But that's kind of the only reason he's there. I'm going cheaper outside of Strider. I think Strider is the most likely one to be the highest scorer on the slate. And I have Gallen for just in case he outpaces him.
Let's see. Zach Gallen getting 10, 11% or so per our projections right now. Pablo Lopez, the other kind of big spend that's up there. Framber Valdez, too. He's the third most popular. All three kind of neglected. Valdez at 7%. Taking on Cleveland, never a fun task because they are, pesky, I suppose. Not the best power in the world, but they're not necessarily going to strike out a ton. What's your thoughts here, Tim, as far as Gallen, Pablo Lopez versus St. Louis? There was thoughts that maybe Goldie or Arenado would get moved. That doesn't appear like it's going to happen. But, so you're going to get your standard St. Louis lineup outside of no Paul DeYoung. And then Valdez, who's, again, all these guys mostly single digits as far as ownership for Valdez. They're all capable. They've all certainly had ceiling games. But your thoughts as far as those three, specifically up top, as far as salary? Lopez, Valdez, and Gallen. Tim, how do you have those ranked?
I'd go Lopez number 1, Gallen number 2, Valdez number 3, and then Eflin. I guess you didn't even ask about him, but Eflin would definitely be dead last in that 10K range just because he doesn't have a really great leash and not a very good matchup, so I wouldn't even touch Eflin tonight. But I think Lopez is very, very interesting in tournaments. He's got the K ceiling to really keep up pace, possibly if Strider isn't like his dominant 40% K rate self. Like I think Lopez at least has a chance, and he's going to be 6% owned. So I think Lopez would be the guy for me in that range.
TJ, your thought as far as that grouping? And I probably should have thrown. I wasn't really thinking Eflin, but I guess just because of price, but. I probably should have thrown Peralta into that conversation, I guess.
Well, I didn't know if you were just doing 10K range.
No, I was. Yeah,
because Peralta, I prefer Peralta over Lopez, Gallen, Eflin, Valdez.
Oh.
Like I'd much rather take the savings.
Expand on that.
If you go Strider, Gallen, or Strider, Lopez, you've got like 3K per bat. It's pretty tough. So. I don't know. I just think that given the matchup against Washington, like I know Washington doesn't strike out a ton, but I expect that Peralta is going to have quite a few easy innings in this matchup. So, like I would bypass Valdez, Gallen, Eflin, and prioritize Peralta over those guys. I do like Lopez quite a bit for GPPs, but I would definitely bypass Valdez, Gallen, and Eflin for Peralta.
So I have Valdez and Gallen as my 2 lowest owned pitchers in my pool, and I don't have Lopez or Eflin in my pool.
Yeah, I mean, doesn't surprise me.
I'd agree with all that except for I would have Lopez in my pool, but I agree with the other 2 definitely.
I'm with Tim. I try to get a pinch. I would try to get at least a pinch of him. They're asking about Steele in the chat. Several people talking about Justin Steele. Is Steele in the pool? This is not an official guess for the record to TJ. I guess he could be, but I don't think he is. You tell me.
Should be. He's tied for my 4th highest owned pitcher. I love him for tournaments today. Only 5% ownership. Nice salary savings over the Valdez and Gallen tier, and I kind of view him similarly. So he and Brian Bayo are the 2 guys for me today that I'm going to be most heavily overweight on. I right now have 22% of both of them, and we're projecting for 5-ish percent ownership on both of them. To me, those are the 2 best tournament pitchers on the slate based on in comparison to ownership, alongside Oviedo and Freddie Peralta.
Tim, Justin Steele, one of the best tournament players on the slate, considering salary considering asking price. Do you agree with that?
Ownership.
No,
Biggest one.
no, but I mean, congrats to TJ on the win. If that comes through, that's not what I would do. I would rather be overweight, like on Rodon, in that same exact price tier. That would be my stand. I'd also rather do like Alex Cobb, who's only 9% owned. I'd honestly. I mean, no offense to TJ. I'd honestly be shocked if Bayo was optimal tonight. But I mean, that's just me. It's not my money. TJ can play, his money exactly how he wants. But I'd much rather go Rodon or Cobb.
I saw on the Discord channel before the show the ridiculously hot Bobby Gomes was talking about Bayo, and it seemed like he liked him a little bit, and his ownership's not going to be very high. And I think, did I see Bobby win again? Did I miss this, or did this happen again on the old Twitter machine? Did he take down another 50K, or is that just like an old tweet? Do you guys know this?
He hopped into the Discord after not doing much research for the day, I believe, and we talked through some plays, and then he listened to Crunch Time. Squirrel put him on Cal Raleigh, who was a double squirrel nut yesterday, and he took down 50K.
Double dump. Yeah. Shout out to Cal Raleigh as a. Oh, producer Steve's jumping in. What's up, Steve?
I just have to say it's the X machine. It's no longer Twitter.
Oh, sorry.
Nah, it's so funny.
The millennial has to come in and correct me. Is millennial? What's the official definite age range for millennials? I feel like that's changed, but I'm not really certain. But I stand corrected. It's X.
Josh Naylor has been scratched.
Oh, he's not traded though, right? Well, would he get traded?
I don't know.
That's
It's their
interesting.
side. So maybe
He's got a side.
Maybe he's switching sides like of the dugout, and he got traded to Houston.
JT Real Muto's got a hand. That doesn't matter. It's not on our slate. He got scratched as well. I assume he's not getting moved. Austin Hedges was traded. What team was Austin Hedges on? I don't remember. San Diego?
I think the Pirates.
Pirates, yeah.
That's right. There you go. So some benches today a little bit thinner. Naylor, I assume, wasn't traded. But let's see. Thoughts on Jose Quintana? We're not playing Jose Quintana. Come on. What are we doing? I know it's Kansas City, but it's Jose Quintana. Unless anybody wants to jump in and stand for Jose Quintana today.
I'm not saying.
Yes,
I'm not saying a
Jose
word.
Quintana.
For what it's worth, now I got to preface this because it's not one for one. I've adjusted some of their projections, but I adjusted Brian Bayo to have a projection of 17 points as opposed to 14, which I feel is pretty reasonable, right? Like that's not an unreasonable projection. He ended up in the 300 lineups I built in my highest projected point lineup.
By the way, Tommy Pham just traded.
Yeah,
the Mets are going all out.
got traded,
To the D-backs.
Yep.
The D-backs, interesting. They needed some right-handed bats. I think that's interesting.
Yeah, they need to pinch hit some more for sure. Kirkwood in chat, he's saying Quintana's in play. Dean just doesn't get it. I mean, look, there's 28 starters throwing baseballs today. Can Quintana eke his way to 13 points? I suppose. But is he somebody I feel like I need? There's zero chance you need Jose Quintana. There's certainly a chance that he helps you get all the stuff you want and he does good enough. So, I mean, it feels unnecessary to me, but I respect Kirkwood and he's a smart guy. So he's hanging out in the Discord as well. I should mention, we mentioned this on occasion. The Discord channels are free now. They're open to everybody. Even TJ gets to hang out there in the Discord channel. Myself, Tim, Alex hanging out there all the time. I know Kirkwood's hanging out there. Even they're sweating the games, they're hanging out in the Discord channel. RotoGrinders.com/Discord. The live stream chat channels where you want to jump in during crunch time. And, you ask Roth a question. Roth will go ahead and ask, I believe it's Carty and Keith, but I could be wrong. Coming up at crunch time as far as 6:15. But, just throughout the day, if you're just sitting around making lineups 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 11 in the afternoon, just start a conversation or join a conversation. Now, there are a few channels in this Discord that still are not free. Speaking of Blender, I believe Blender's channel is not free and the Bats channel is not free. But for the most part, all you need is an RG account. You don't need a premium account, just any RG account, and you can join the conversation. RotoGrinders.com/Discord. And the MLB chat room is where most of the conversation goes on throughout the day. Yeah. All right. What else should we say as far as pitching? We got to get the hits, some batters, some stacks. What else do we need to say? We didn't really run down all 11 in your pool, TJ, but what do you want to stress? You talked about Bayo being somebody you're well over the field on today. Hyun-Jin Ryo's making his debut today for your Blue Jays. He's old. He's fragile. He's going to be on a pitch count, I presume. Well, I guess he's mostly stretched out, but
yeah, he's stretched out. He went 85 pitches his last game in the minors.
Yeah, but is he in your pool, Hyun-Jin Ryo?
He is. He's 7K, so he's in my pool.
Okay. All right. There you go. I would not have guessed that, but all right. What are we getting ownership-wise? 3%? You got a pinch.
Ownership's the name of the game for me today. Like, it's a 14-game slate. I don't want to, outside of Spencer Strider, who has been the best DFS pitcher in all of baseball this year, by far. And it was the same thing I did with Gaussman the other day. I picked one because his strikeout rate is so high and he's so good that I'm going to eat the chalk on that one. And today for me, that's Strider. Basically everybody else in my pool, I'm trying to get some kind of discount and I'm taking it with the guys that are low owned because it's a 14-game slate. Lance Lynn, even though he should probably project as the best play point per dollar, he shouldn't be. He shouldn't be 40% owned. He doesn't deserve to be 40% owned. And so that's the name of the game for me today. I am paying up for Strider and then getting different with cheaper guys and trying to get as much Dodgers, Braves, and Padres as I can.
Do you want to answer all your questions in chat, whatever's in your mind? If you got a 2v2 or if talk about this, talk about that. I do see as a question. I see Flying Armbar saying just TJ, Dean, Tim. And then it says TJ and Tim have been killing it. I feel like 2 out of 3. That ain't bad, I suppose. Andrew's got a question for you, Tim. Steele and Cobb versus Zach Gallen and Michaelis for tournaments. It's got to be the first pairing, right?
It's got to be the first one. For the record, though, I'd rather that user go Rodon Cobb than Steele Cobb. But I mean, if that's what they want to do, the first one, definitely.
But TJ, you prefer Steele over Rodon, I suppose, right?
By a lot, yeah. The wind's blowing in. Steele's got a 60% ground ball rate to righties. I believe that's what it is. I better double check just to make sure I'm not making something up. But he's been better at limiting hard contact against righties than he has been lefties, and they put out a basically all right-handed lineup. And 50% ground ball rate to righties this year. But I like him quite a bit. I'm all aboard the Steele train today.
And they're asking about how deep Avila is going to go for San Diego today. I believe we had him at like 60 or 65 pitches. I know he's 5'5" and he's facing a bad Colorado lineup, but Tim, 60. I assume, yeah, we're not playing Pedro. I don't think we are. You tell me.
I mean, I wouldn't, but it's easy for me to say. I don't build 150. But if I did, I would not.
Daryl's asking players traded before the deadline are not playing on today's slate. Yeah, I mean, yeah, if you're traded, like Tommy Pham's not going to make that lineup for the Mets. Have they made their lineup just yet? That might have been the reason why we haven't seen it just yet, because they were still finalizing some deals. There it is. Jack Flaherty's the guy I couldn't think of. The Orioles are getting him, apparently. According to Rosenthal, Orioles close to acquiring Jack Flaherty, the name I couldn't think of earlier in the day. But, okay. Baltimore's a team that's going to be easy to root for come playoff time. But I guess that's the best they can do as of right now. They have a ton of prospects if they're willing to move somebody. Luis Patino traded to the White Sox. Let's see, but we're closing in, 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes before the deadline. So we're probably going to get a few more before the window closes.
Blue Jays.
I'll tell you something, man. The Blue Jays, TJ, your bullpen is awesome. If you guys can make some really sneaky noise in the playoffs if you can cut that game to like 5 innings.
Obviously, we don't know if we can count on Kikuchi and Ryu yet in a playoff scenario, but they got maybe the best bullpen in baseball now, among the better bullpens in baseball. Baltimore's is crazy good. There's a few other teams that are really ridiculously good as well, but they got a 6-man rotation with a crazy good bullpen. I just want them to add one more bat. I like the De Jong trade as a great defender and some insurance for Bichette while he's hurt, because they need somebody to play now. They're in the thick of a playoff race. But I want one more bat. I really wanted Candelario, but they didn't get him. I'm still hoping for somebody like a Lance Thomas or maybe an Eloy Jimenez, which I don't think is very likely, but I would love. I still want one more bat.
Lane Thomas, is that?
Yeah, Lane Thomas. Sorry, yeah, Lane Thomas, not Lance.
Yeah, no worries. It took me a second. I was like, Lance Thomas. I couldn't quite get there.
Lance Thomas is a basketball player. He used to play for Duke.
Yes. Okay, there you go. Shout out Andy Means. Let's see. Oviedo, they're asking about. You guys already touched on him. So, Tim, a couple questions. Oviedo, is he playable on FanDuel? And second question, Bossbro wants to know, favorite FanDuel pitcher not named Strider.
All right. I don't think Oviedo is playable on FanDuel. That might be a little ambitious. Favorite for single entry, I'm assuming?
Wasn't specified.
All right. Let me Lopez. That's what I would go with.
Question from Flying Armbar: your favorite cheap pitcher on FanDuel for cash or tournaments? Tim, are you playing cash on FanDuel?
I'm not. I don't usually play cash on FanDuel,
okay.
But I still think it's Strider.
It has to be Strider in cash.
Yeah, it's like not even really a debate.
It's going to keep you from some bats because of salary cap reasons. Obviously, you can't just fully load up and get Tatis and get bets and that kind of thing. But like,
you get $29.50 per bat. You'll be fine. Like, just you got to play Strider in cash games.
Yeah, for tournaments, I like Heaney. I think would probably be the answer, but he's still going to be like 10-ish% owned, which isn't super low. And so I think Heaney is the best guy for like a single entry. But you're going to get a 1%, 2% owned Brian Bale for $8,500, which is a great price for him on FanDuel.
Roto 9% on FanDuel, and he's 7.9. Heaney 7.9, 9%. So basically, they're just the projection team is essentially saying those guys are going to get the same ownership at the same price. Is there anybody else worth acknowledging here, Tim, as far as a tournament pivot? Like, we're giving Strider 24% on FanDuel, 14% to Lynn, Heaney at 10, Rodon at 10.
Pablo Lopez 0.69%. I mean, he's going to be under 1%. He's going to be under 1%. I don't think I can remember a pitcher with such a high ceiling at such low ownership.
And even if it's like 2% or 3%, it's going to be low. It's going to be less than 5.
Right. So, I mean, like, all these other guys are fine. Like, Heaney's fine. Like, it's fine. But, like, if I want a guy that could actually strike out the world at, like, next to no ownership, I think Lopez is the guy.
Yeah, he has the second highest K rate in the slate. Actually, Pedro Avila's got a 33% K rate, but that's 5 innings, and I don't really think that counts. But Lopez at 30.2%. Of course, Strider almost at 40. 39.6, which is completely outrageous. All this talk about FanDuel, should mention, play the RotoGrinders sponsored single entry series over there at FanDuel. Get your added value. I believe it's a $33 variety going down. Not sure if it's sold out just yet. Probably hasn't, but make sure you play in that contest at FanDuel. Roth, later on when he comes on, he's going to give you guys a deposit bonus as well for FanDuel for the sports book. Going to talk about StatHero in just a second, but I do want to get the summary. And, of course, stacks. We'll talk about stacks. And when crunch time comes on, they give their favorite plays, position by position. They'll go around the horn and cover all that, whatever we don't get to as far as the bats. But give me the summary here. I'll let Tim go first, the summary as far as pitching. And then TJ, feel free to add whatever, clean up whatever Tim has not said.
Yeah, Strider's the top pitcher on the slate by far. Cash game, both sites. Lance Lynn is going to be my SB2 in cash games. I think Pablo Lopez is a really, really, really strong tournament option on both sites. Alex Cobb as a tournament pivot away from Lance Lynn, I think is a very strong play. But I think Carlos Rodon, if you're in that kind of 9K range, I think is a very strong play who's going to be very low owned. And I think Oviedo is going to be very, very low owned. And I think he's a really, really strong play if you're looking for a really cheap SB2 and getting away from the more popular Andrew Heaney.
TJ?
Yeah, for me, I'm just really trying to, outside of Spencer Strider, get overweight on a lot of cheap, low-owned pitchers today. That's where I'm going to be looking to go to in tournaments. And then my plan for that is to allow me to spend up on a lot of bats. I'm getting to a lot of Braves, getting to a lot of Dodgers, etc. And so I love Spencer Strider. I'm getting to about 30 to 40% of him. And then outside of him, I'm just getting to a lot of cheap guys. I'm going to be most heavily overweight on Oviedo and Justin Steele and Brian Bayo. And then I'm also getting to a ton of Andrew Heaney today. The other guys that round out my pool, it's Freddie Peralta, Hinju Ryu, Miles Mikolas, Framber Valdez, Alex Cobb, Zach Gallen.
By the way, I saw somebody in chat say the Yankees were the only team to not make a trade. That has changed. They just traded for a middle reliever from the White Sox. So there you go. They've joined the party. Middleton? Not sure who that is, but some reliever. Maybe he's a setup man. I'm not really sure. But a relief pitcher from Chicago, not relevant for our purposes. And by the way, George Darrell in chat, fan was not traded to the Cardinals. He was traded to the Diamondbacks. All right. Going to talk sacks in just a second. Do want to mention StatHero. StatHero, unique fantasy sports platform. You know it. You love it. It allows users to compete against the house instead of other players. You're not competing against Tim or TJ or people hanging out in chat. The Searing 20 contest for MLB Pick'em that is still going on. Join the free-to-play contest. Win to start your streak. Keep your streak alive by joining each day. Build your streak and win prizes with consecutive wins, including swag, RG Premium, and the cash prize. $20,000 first prize for the Searing 20. Promo code GRINDERS, GRINDERS. That'll get you a 50% deposit bonus up to $250. Again, GRINDERS, GRINDERS. That is the promo code for StatHero. 50% deposit bonus up to $250. All right, taking a peek at our stacks. Dodgers number one. This is myself, Tim, and Kirkwood and Squirrel Patrol. Pretty solid group. We got the Dodgers, the Padres, and the Braves. It's interesting because the average for the Dodgers, 1.75. The average for the Padres, 2. The average for the Braves, 2.75. Big gap. Then Texas is averaging 7. So pretty clear. Dodgers, San Diego, Atlanta, kind of on their own tier. Dodgers 1, San Diego 2, Atlanta 3, Texas 4, Mets 5, no fam, Milwaukee, Houston, Boston, Colorado. A little bit of love around the horn there. You tell me here, TJ, what is too high? What is too low? Do we like those rankings? Anything we should kick off? Anything we should add on?
So the Rangers are the one that I'm not quite as high on as everybody else seems to be today. They are my, let's see here. I mean, they're my 7th highest owned stack, so it's not that low. But for me, it's the Dodgers number 1, the Braves number 2, and then the Padres number 3. I am getting to a bit more Padres than Braves just because of the price tags on some of those Braves guys. And then my top 5 rounds out with 2 cheap stacks. That's Minnesota and Oakland. Those are going to be
Minnesota.
Yeah, those are the 2 teams I'm going most heavily overweight on today. I have Michaelis in my pool because he's super cheap and Minnesota strikes out an absolute ton. I will play anyone who is cheap against Minnesota because they strike out an absolute ton and you can pay up for a ton of bats. However, Minnesota is my 4th highest owned stack on the slate.
I like, as a general rule, being over on Minnesota bats and being over on overs facing Minnesota. I don't know if I like that rule with Michaelis, but I like that general rule. But I know what you're saying. And by the way, Minnesota is your mini stack with the Dodgers, with Andrew Heaney, and with Spencer Strider. Confirm or deny, TJ?
I have 3 one-offs to make sure that I am not duped.
You know, well, it's a rigged game. There is no way I can get the correct answer.
I don't want you to win the game. I didn't consent to this game.
I didn't get verbal consent.
I have Strider, Heaney, 5 Dodgers, and 3 one-offs, and that's all I'm telling you.
Okay, well, one of them's a twin, and one of them is an A. You got Seth Brown. Seth Brown's in that lineup. Tell me he's not. He's in that lineup. You tell me he's not in that lineup. He's in it.
Confirm or deny.
You do not have a good poker face, TJ. Tim, did I just read him? Did I just break him down?
I wasn't listening.
It's Tim. The one time I need you to get my back.
Here's how bad you are at this, Dean. We are over 100 likes, and so Spidey Bum, number 2 today, my highest owned bat on the slate, 5 20 on plus 520. You can get him for on FanDuel today. JJ Bleday, baby.
Oh, it might be Bleday. He was my sneaky homer call today in the old expert survey. Bleday, lefty power versus Lance
Probably
Lynn.
because you listen to the morning grind.
Yes. Well, I was trying to listen to it, but it wasn't recorded, and I gave up. Tim, your thoughts as far as stacks?
Yeah, it's obviously going to be the cores that are going to be the most popular, assuming that we get the okay from Roth. It seems like a less sketchy scenario than it was last night, at least. I think the Dodgers are, I don't know, like outside of cores, they're probably my favorite. It's definitely, I think ownership's going to be really, really spread out tonight. Like I think enough people. Obviously the slate is huge, right? And so I don't think ownership's going to condense too much on San Diego and Colorado. But I will say that like Colorado's got some really, really cheap pieces, So it's like for cash games or just like as in like a skinny stack in single entry, I think they're pretty interesting. Even though Colorado's like not really that strong of a team, but they're an amazing matchup and they're relatively cheap.
Hey, not to cut you off, but you brought that up, and I think an interesting little conundrum, and I'm curious what you're doing, probably for cash games, depending. So Cronenworth is second base eligible, right? Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, I'm looking at FanDuel. I wanted to talk about DK, where you don't have the utility spot, and we have a super, super cheap player for Colorado at second. Now, bets you can throw in the outfield as well. Like Kim, another second base player. I think he's got some versatility. Albies, Cronenworth, second base eligible. But then you got Brandon Rogers right there, Tim, at 2.6K. And there's no versatility. But there's certainly an opportunity cost because Betts, Kim, Albies, Cronenworth, again, you can throw these guys around. I love Semien in tournaments, if nothing else. I'm curious what your like. Are you just going to take Brandon Rogers and play him in cash and maybe throw I don't know if you're playing Betts or not, but if you want him, play in the outfield. It just feels like an interesting conundrum at second base, specifically on DK, because I'm
100% playing Rogers in cash games. Like,
okay,
that's like not even really a question. Like I get what you're saying, but I could just throw Betts in the outfield. I can just throw Cronenworth. I can just throw Cronenworth at first base. I could fade Kim, but I mean I'm just gonna take the $2,100 difference between Kim and Rogers and just say whatever. Like that's we were talking about Chris Taylor at the beginning of the show, and like he rates out really, really well. If I have to do a $2,600 player and a $3K player, like I guess I will do that. But if I can only choose one, it's gonna be Rogers. Like I'd much rather just punt with Rogers. So in cash games, like he 100% is gonna be on my team.
TJ, I see people talk about ownership. We're talking about ownership as well, but like I agree with Tim said. Like it's going to be pretty well spread out. I know there's cores, but there's 14 games, and away from San Diego, you can get to the Dodgers. Away from the Dodgers, you can get to the Braves. I think Texas looks pretty good. As a general rule, like how much do you care about ownership today when it comes to the hitters? Because I think if you like a team, just play them. Is sort of that's my thought basically. I wouldn't say, oh, I can't play them because they're going to be popular. Just play them. Yes.
Yeah. The bats today, I did not even really look at it. I didn't take it into account, and I just built all my favorite lineups.
Yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at as well. But my awful
because since my single entry, you're trying so hard to dupe me.
I'm gonna finish it. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna start building it as I haven't officially built it. But this is which contest are you in? The 222 or
222 single entry?
Oh yeah, let's do it. This is now my goal. I don't even want to win the tournament. I want to find a way to dupe you. Can you help me out by telling me how much salary you have left?
This is what Blunder used to do to me, and then he put it up on the screen.
Fire alarm? Everybody good?
Amber alert.
Tim? All good?
Yeah, alarm's going off.
Oh, okay. If feel free to go check on something, you have to check on something.
I don't think my house is on fire, so I think I'm good. Yeah, I'm good. It's off.
You only have to be wrong once, though. But okay.
No, yeah, it's off. It's off. We're good.
It was not my ankle monitor. No. Brian in chat's asking about Tampa. I think Tampa's pretty interesting. My one kind of hiccup about Tampa is the Yankees are going to come in with some righties, and they did start Brandon Lau, which is good. But who is Luke Raleigh's going to come in and play for somebody? Like somebody's going to get the hook, assuming that the situation calls for it. I like the Rays. I know my top 5. There's a lot of teams to like, but Rodon, look, he was really spectacular last year. He got paid. Good for him. All we've seen him this year is like he's walking too many guys, and he's giving too many home runs, and the Rays are getting a big ballpark bump. Again, I don't know if I'm getting there in single entry, TJ, but I'm curious what your general thoughts is as far as the Rays. I think like Arozarena is an awesome tournament play. And there's some other, Wander Franco is just pretty expensive. Your general thoughts as far as the Rays.
Yeah, they're not my top stack on the board by any means, but they're 100% in the pool. I think they're a strong play for tournaments. It's 14 games and there are so many different options. I definitely think that is one of the options you can go to. I have no problem with that.
Josh Bell traded to the Marlins. That's a weird one. Okay. Was he in the lineup today for Cleveland?
He was. Yeah, he was batting 4th. This Cleveland lineup.
So Bell,
they've lost 2 players.
Bell and Tater.
Yeah.
Like Bell's not really good, but he was their cleanup hitter, and somebody worse is going to come in. We haven't really talked at all about Framber Valdez. Should we acknowledge his existence? And maybe we should have talked about him at least a little bit. Like he's good.
I have about 10% of him, and I'm feeling now like I should try and get more.
Tim, your immediate thoughts here? I know we were kind of talking over each other.
I mean, he's fine, and he's getting more appealing by the second, it seems like. I think I prefer guys like Gallen and Lopez and Peralta better. So that's just he doesn't outweigh those guys for me still.
It's J-Ram and a bunch of dudes, right? Quan, Freeman, J-Ram, whoever replaces Josh Bell, David Fry, Oscar Gonzalez. I think he's a big strikeout guy, if I'm not mistaken. Gabriel Arias, Straw, who's punchless, and then Cam Gallagher, their worst catcher. There's no nailers as of right now, right? They're both out of the lineup. Maybe the catcher jumps in and DHs or something like that. But on paper, this Cleveland lineup is pretty brutal. I'm curious who they're going to throw in there, but probably not somebody good. Gene Segura. The Marlins are able to move Segura. That's interesting. I don't know what Bell's contract is, but Segura was getting a lot, considering he's been horrific this year. But all right, there you go. There's an update as far as a trade. That's probably it.
This Cleveland team is still kind of pesky though. I mean, they're not good, but they don't strike out at a very high level. And I think you're going to need a lot of strikeouts tonight. Opportunity cost of pitcher is quite high. So Quan at 10%, Freeman 10%, J-Ram 12%. That's a very, 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 very low strikeout team at the top of that lineup.
Yeah, Arias at 42% and 69 at bats. Gallagher at 24%, Straw at 20%. There's some case in there. Yeah, Bell's going to go away. Up top, though, like you said, it's all the contact guys, and you're more likely to see those guys 3 times as opposed to seeing Straw and Gallagher 3 times. Just, if I'm running a bunch of lineups, I want to be a little bit over, and it's not hard to get over on Valdez. And I think, TJ, you talked about that.
Yeah, exactly. And I actually just made a lineup that I really like with a Strider-Valdez combo, and so I think I'm going to throw it just in the $15 GPP because it's going to be very different and don't need to compete. Doesn't matter if I'm competing against the people doing 150 because it's going to be so unique.
Yeah, Robin Chat's asking about the lineups coming out. Yeah, this is because of the deadline, I assume. I'm guessing that's the reason why. We still don't have a White Sox lineup. Now, they traded Berger.
Padres just got Garrett Cooper.
From the Marlins. Okay.
For Ryan Weathers. So people thought he was going to be the long man today, and he will not be.
I think that's the former Marlins pitcher David Weathers' kid, if I'm not mistaken. So he's going to where his dad pitched. I'm pretty sure that was his father, David Weathers, who nobody else remembers, by the way. David Weathers, many, many years ago, was a prospect for the Marlins. But all right. That was the suspected long man today for San Diego? Is that what you're talking about? Okay,
yeah, he was originally announced as the starter, and then they said it was going to be Avila.
That's right.
And so, yeah. For the
Yeah. So
Padres, that's a pretty nice pickup, though. I feel like that's better. He's better than anybody they had been playing at first base.
yeah, I mean, the Padres' first base situation has been what? Who's been their main first? Have they been playing? Having Cronenworth playing some first?
Cronenworth's played from first. Carpenter's been there. No, he's mostly DH, but he's done it a little bit. A little bit of Nelson Cruz.
Carty say they just got Choi. Where did Choi go? Did I miss that deal?
Yeah,
Did Choi go
Pirates
to
sent. Was it the Pirates? I think it was that.
he went to San Diego.
Yeah, Choi there as well. So now they got two better platoons. They were using platoons before, and now they got two better platoons.
All right. Do we have any bold calls? Let's give us some bold calls before we hand it off to Crunch Time. Crunch Time should be knocking on the door momentarily. Also, we should have some more taters. We should have some more Spidey bombs. And the people with the like button, TJ, you've not done you had one job, TJ.
Yeah, and I'm doing a good job of it. There's 125 likes, and so 25 more. Let's get us up to. We got Spidey bomb number 3, and yeah, I mean, I got a few bold takes today. I mean, I'm playing 25% into Oviedo. I'm playing 22% Steele, 22% Bayo, and I'm running a lineup that has Strider and Valdez together. So I feel like that's pretty bold.
Give me a couple Spidey bombs to the road and get those taters ready, Tim.
I mean, when Dora and Blade are the two Spidey bombs, we need 150 likes for a third one. I can't just give it away for free.
Well, that's the thing. You should have been touting the likes the whole time. Generally speaking, the over/under is like at least 150 as we hand it off to Crunch Time. I'm not pointing fingers. I'll take some accountability. It's kind of on me too. But when you're on the show, I generally yield. Boy, somebody's mic is coming in hot.
Yeah, somebody's got their mic like on their keyboard and are just beating the hell out of it. Like, someone's got to tone it down.
I just muted mine to make sure it wasn't mine. So,
well, it might be DerekCarty. I'm not sure.
I like Cody Bellinger plus 460.
No, you're I think we're all right.
I think we're good now. All right. What were the taters, Tim? I'm sorry, I didn't hear him.
I like Cody Bellinger plus 460.
There you go. What's up, Roth? How are things? Things have improved as far as Coors Field. You thought you're doing the old Groundhog Day as per last night. And shout out to you for staying up to like midnight and just sweating it. And shout out to the Rockies, I suppose, for playing through the rain.
It just
JJ
seems like
Blade is leading off.
Oh, okay. JJ Blade leading off. There you go. If you would have told me like exactly what the weather was going to be last night, I would have told you there was a 0% chance that they were going to play in Colorado. Like I literally can't believe they did it, but they did. And that makes me feel better about tonight because they will literally play in a downpour.
Well, there you go. And that's the only thing we're really worried about as far as weather, I think. Yes, unless something's changed.
Yeah, it's pretty much Colorado or not. We'll talk more about it in a bit, but we'll see.
We have Carty and Keith as well. Should we step aside? You got anything else, boys, before we yield to the Fanduel sponsor Crunch Time? We got TJ. We have Tim. Tim, you feel free to thank me anytime before we get off the air. But, whenever, if you have anything else for the people, feel free to let it go. Otherwise, we'll yield for Crunch Time.
I will not thank you because you've just been coming at me all week, and I don't deserve it. I'm a nice guy, Dean. I don't deserve it. You should be nice like my guy, Keith. Keith is a great guy. You should be nicer like him. Yes. We're just about at 150 likes. I know we're going to get a few more people hitting it right now, and so we actually did have somebody in chat. I want to see who it was. Call who my next Spidey bomb it was. I think it might have been J3. I can't remember. It's gone by, but Ryan Mountcastle.
All right, there you go. Yeah, anything else before we step aside and get out of here, Tim?
Oh, thanks, Dean. Thanks, DJ.
TJ gets thanks.
Thank you.
Feel special. Thank you, TJ. Thank you, Tim, and thank you, producer Steve. Thanks everybody out there watching. Do appreciate it. Don't go anywhere. Fanduel sponsor Crunch Time. You got Chief Meteorologist Kevin Roth. You got DerekCarty, CEO of the Bat and the soon-to-be Blitz, as well as the Iceman Keith Roth. Take it away.
Very good. And thank you to the GrindersLive crew. Welcome to it, ladies and gentlemen. This is Crunch Time, the show sponsored by Fanduel, as Dee mentioned. And it's the show where we bring on two of the sharpest minds in the biz, baby. We got Brian Flores in chat, says the Iceman. That's Keith Eyster, the Iceman right there. The weather guru, that's me. And Playboy Carty, that's him. That is Playboy Carty. Flying Armbar says Carty was voted top sexiest man of the DFS community. He was. 3 years in a row. He just keeps He keeps winning it. Congratulations, Carty.
Thank you. Appreciate it. It's an honor just to be nominated.
Keeps bringing it in. Talon says, "Hey, somebody's mic is coming in hot. Maybe he's just catching up. I don't know. Hey, if it's mine, let me know. If I'm like yelling, if I'm blowing your eardrums, let me know. Hopefully, it's not mine." Welcome to it, guys. This is, as I mentioned, the show is sponsored by FanDuel. So make sure you're signing up for the FanDuel Sportsbook. If you're in a legal sports betting state, you can take advantage of their awesome bonus offer. New customers bet $5, get $100 in bonus bets. Terms and conditions do apply. And of course, we've got the RotoGrinders sponsored FanDuel single entry series that is ongoing as well. So make sure that everybody is doing those things. With that out of the way, let's say hello. Ice, how are you?
I'm good. TJ had to be sucking up because we started recording, we started talking about the morning grind last night. We got about through the 5th game on the slate, and then he realized he forgot to push live. So we had to go back and start all over. So that's why TJ's sucking up to me, telling me I'm nice.
Brutal. How far, like how long was that? Like, were you like 30 minutes in?
Like 20 minutes, yeah. But we're interacting with the chat, and they're asking like when's the show starting, and that's how we figured out that we weren't live.
Oh man, that sucks. Well, that's a rough start to the day, but I'm glad that you got back. You're ready. Hopefully, you feel good about this slate.
This is a crazy one. We're still waiting on a ton of lineups because the trade deadline just happened. So it's going to be very similar to a late season NBA slate where you're going to have to make a lot of changes after lock. Some of these scratches and things that have just come through, the teams have not put out their new lineups yet. So it's a very complicated slate. A huge slate, obviously, as well, in addition to all the trade deadline stuff that's going on.
Okay, I'm starting to get muted by my producer, which makes me think after calling people out, I'm the one with the shit mic. We'll figure it out. I'll turn down the game. We'll make that happen. I got to bring in and say hello to DerekCarty as well. Carty, how are you, man?
I'm doing pretty well. This trade deadline stuff is obviously pretty crazy and throwing a bit of a wrench into things tonight, potentially. Oh, there we go. Dodgers trade for Ryan Yarbrough. I'm like, why have the Dodgers not traded for anybody? Because they were linked to basically every pitcher on the market. Yarbrough is probably not who they were hoping for, but I guess they got someone.
They tried to get Eduardo Rodriguez, and he declined trade. He exercised a no trade option.
Yeah, they tried to get Cease. They tried to get Paxton. They tried to get a lot of guys. Lynn was a great pickup last week for them, but they seemed pretty intent on getting somebody else, and didn't really happen, which is interesting.
All right. I was kind of low-key hoping that there'd be a trade for Shohei, even though he was like off the market. I was hoping someone would swoop in with just like a Godfather offer and make it work. By the way, I switched from my good mic, which apparently was buzzing, to a shitty mic. So if it sounds like echoey, at least it's not buzzing, I hope. Let me know if it's more bearable now. We're going to talk a little bit of weather, and that starts and ends in Colorado. Last night, they late started 2.5 hours. Then they started in the pouring rain, and they played the entire game in the pouring rain. That makes me think they're going to figure out a way to get the game in tonight. Like, there is a chance that you get some sort of flooding downpour and it just floods out the stadium. They got lucky and avoided that last night. That is possible. So it's not risk-free, but they're just clearly uber motivated to play these games. So I think essentially no matter what the weather is, they'll figure it out. And I think the weather looks better than it did last night. So my best guess would be a late start and play in Colorado. That good enough for you, Carty? Are you like, all right, I'm just gonna roll?
No, I mean that sounds good to me, and it makes a lot of sense. You know, if they found a way to do it last night and tonight's looks a little better, then you'd think they'll find a way to do it tonight too.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at, and that's really it for weather. So with that, I think we can kick it on over to some pitcher talk, and we like to start with DerekCarty, and we like to know what the bat thinks there as far as the SPs go, both of course on FanDuel and DK. Don't mind.
So there's two pretty clear top pitchers tonight. The top one is Spencer Strider, just because he's Spencer Strider. The matchup's not like amazing. Like, this Angels team has gotten better over the last few days. They're not necessarily as high strikeout as they have been at certain times this year, but it's still Spencer Strider. and that's going to be good enough. He projects really, really well. On DK, you're definitely playing him. On FanDuel, I think it's more of a conversation whether you're spending 11.3 on him or whether you're content saving about 2K and playing Lance Lynn, who has like a 6.17 ERA or like something this year, like something terrible. But all his peripherals are good. You know, his xFIP is like 4. He's striking out like 11 guys per 9. He's on the Dodgers now. He's going to get plenty of run support. And he's facing this garbage Oakland A's lineup. So on DK, it's an easy decision. You just play the two of them in cash. On FanDuel, you have to decide between them. Personally, I'm probably okay saving the money and just playing Lynn. I'm not going to tell you you're wrong to play Strider. I will tell you you're wrong if you play anybody else, in cash at least.
Wow.
So
Sure. Okay.
that's kind of the top 2 guys. In GPPs, there's lots of other ways you can go. You have other expensive guys for people who are not doing the Strider thing because he's going to be super popular. You're going to get Framber. You're going to get Zach Gallen. You're going to get Pablo Lopez. You're going to get Freddie Peralta, Carlos Rodon, Alex Cobb, all at very reasonable ownership because they're all projecting pretty similarly and they're all similarly priced. And most of the ownership is going to flock towards Strider and Lynn. So any of those guys are going to be fine tonight, you know, as a way to be different. And then you have Andrew Haney, who's like the cheap guy who projects really well for his price. He's 6'6" on DraftKings. He's 7'9" on FanDuel. He's a loose cannon. Like you can get a dominant start out of Haney where he goes 6 shutout innings and strikes out 11 guys, or he can be gone in the 3rd inning because he gave up 6 runs. Like that's the range of outcomes for Haney. It's a good matchup. He's facing a White Sox offense that is below average. That's taking a bit of a park downgrade. It's in Texas, so the roof's going to be closed. So it's some of the best, you know, weather of the day. So that would be my other cheap guy aside from Lynn that I like. And then, I mean, honestly, you can play a guy like Hyunjin Ryu if you want. You can play a guy like Miles Michaelis. Like this is a slate where I think there's so many viable pitching options.
Okay, very good. Well, that leads us perfectly into to the Iceman's thoughts here. Are you just sticking with the 2 good guys at the top, or are you getting a little crazy pitcher-wise, Ice?
I'm getting a little crazy, not completely crazy. And it differs by site for sure, because that SP2, I feel like you can play around with quite a bit on DraftKings, where on FanDuel, you really need to make sure that you get a ceiling score out of a pitcher. So I'll break it down by site. FanDuel, I think going overweight on Strider is my plan there. 24%. I'm fine with him being in like half of my lineups. He just has more upside than anybody on the slate. Massive strikeout rate. Improved Angels lineup, but still, I don't think they're an elite offense at this point, especially while Trout is still on the IL.
Mm-hmm.
The guys I'm going underweight on are Lance Lynn and Andrew Heaney. It's like Heaney is super cheap. That might burn me a little bit, but I want to get overweight on some of these guys with more upside. Zach Gallen is my favorite guy. He's 10.6. He's priced up near Strider, but he's a really good starting pitcher. I'm not afraid of this San Francisco offense. There's plenty of strikeouts in the San Francisco lineup. Freddie Peralta, a guy who's coming off a 13 strikeout performance. I don't expect that here today. He gets a high contact Washington team, but Peralta does have double-digit strikeout upside in his range of outcomes. Washington also lacks power, so he should be able to go fairly deep into this game, chasing a big performance out of Peralta there as well. To save a little bit of money, I am going to keep chasing Carlos Rodon until he comes back to the pitcher that we know he can be. It's been a rough go for him coming off the injured list. He cannot find the strike zone at all. His walk rate is sky high. The strikeouts have not been there yet, but I want to be early on that. This White Sox lineup, they just traded away Berger, who has hit lefties really well and has a ton of power. That's Heaney that's facing the White Sox. Rodon gets Tampa, a very good offense, but there's a lot of strikeouts in the Tampa offense as well. And again, just trying to be early on that before the field catches up. As soon as he has that one big performance, Rodon's going to be chalk in the very next start.
Gotcha.
So trying to be early there. Bayo is a guy I want a little exposure to just because of the high strikeouts in the Seattle lineup. And that's about the extent of my pool on FanDuel. On DraftKings, I think the very first thing that you should do is make a group with Lance Lynn and Spencer Strider and make sure you only play one of them in any given lineup, because that combination is going to be massive, massive chalk. it's a 14 game slate. Like their ownership is coming in way higher than the chances of those two being optimal together. So make a group of Lynn and Strider. Do not play them together. I'm fine if you want to go overweight on both of them. Just I don't think that you should play them together. Personally, I'm going overweight on Strider and underweight on Lance Lynn. He is very cheap. The peripherals are all there, like Carty has mentioned. It is a fantastic matchup against Oakland, but he should not be 40% owned on a 14-game slate. I'm going to be about half the field on that. He certainly could absolutely smash that price tag, so I do still want some exposure to him, but I will be under the field. Cheap guys in that range to use as a replacement. Oviedo is a guy I'm looking at. Fantastic matchup against Detroit. Heaney, I like his ownership on DraftKings, where I don't think he is quite worth it on FanDuel, not because of ownership, but just because I think other guys have more upside. Heaney at half the ownership of Lance Lynn is a guy that I'll be overweight on. Hyunjin Ryu is making his first start of the season coming off the IL. Another guy I have a little bit of exposure to just because he's cheap. He's proven to be a very solid pitcher in the past. We don't know what he's going to look like after such a long layoff, but I'm willing to take shots on that. And then again, like on FanDuel, Rodon, Peralta, and Gallen, the three guys in the top range that I want to be overweight on as well.
Okay, very good. Cloud in the chat says Heaney is the top pitcher today, excluding Strider. Book it. And you would love that because those are your two top dogs, right?
Yeah, I think Heaney has, like Carty said, he could absolutely get blown up. It could be a very short outing for him. He could also be a guy that racks up 10 strikeouts. Very volatile pitcher, like similar to Blake Snell in that he gives up home runs or he gets strikeouts.
Very good. And then, Carty, I wanted to ask you, like Ice has a ton of Strider. Where does this particular Angels lineup rank as far as strikeouts go? Like, is this a good strikeout lineup? I know they're pretty good as a team, or at least
it's above average for strikeouts. It's not like crazy strikeout lineup, but it's above average.
And he is obviously a very above average strikeout pitcher. So that because I feel like at that price, you need him to get there.
Yeah, and in terms of like overall quality, it's like an average lineup. So it's not like the matchup is like amazing for Strider, but he's Strider and the matchup's good enough.
Yeah, sure. That's all. I was just curious, what their strikeout ranking was there. All right, let's talk about some of the stacks here. So we'll flip the script, and Ice, you can lead off on this one and talk about where you're looking for the bats.
All right.
Let me pause because I imagine we're going to Colorado at some point. There still is risk in that game. Like there still is a chance that game gets postponed. I don't think that's going to happen, but I just want it noted that is not out of the question. So with that, go ahead and talk about the stacks.
Yeah, glad you brought that up again. San Diego is absolutely in the top tier. There, first, let me say that I don't think ownership is a thing with hitters today. It's very condensed on the pitcher side. So I'm very ownership conscious on the pitching side. But as far as stacks and bats, I don't think that there is any massive chalk. I think there are three very clear top teams who will be probably among the highest owned. That would be the Padres in Coors Field, the Dodgers against a very weak lefty and a bad Oakland bullpen, and the Braves, who have been the top offense in baseball against Patrick Sandoval, who has struggled all season long. The Padres, a very good offense in Coors Field. Obviously, be mindful of the risk there. And then two elite offenses with great matchups. Those three are very clearly in a tier of their own for me today. Other offenses I'm considering, the Mets against Zach Greinke, who just does not miss any bats anymore. The Rangers get a White Sox bullpen game. Schulten shouldn't go more than 2 or 3 innings, I wouldn't think. Don't love stacking in bullpen games. The Rangers also a little bit of a depleted lineup, but still plenty of upside with guys like Marcus Semien and Adolis Garcia there. Colorado, obviously, the other team in Coors. That would kind of be my tier 2 there. Texas, Mets, Astros, and Rockies. And then getting a little bit off the board, I like Brewers lefties against Josiah Gray. I don't mind the Cubs and trying to find some home runs there. I like a couple Pirates lefties and Oakland as a way to save some money and gain a massive amount of leverage with Lance Lynn chalk against Lance Lynn.
Do you feel like, let's say you're running 20 entries, that you have to do anything all that different from maybe your top 3, or because the ownership is spread, can you just play like the best 3 teams and hope it works out?
Yeah, so my primary stacks being my 5-man stacks in a 20 entry build, I will stick almost exclusively to Padres, Dodgers, Braves. I will mix a lot of those other teams in as 3-man stacks alongside of the 5-man.
Okay, very good. All right, I understand. All right, Carty, what are you doing stack wise?
Yeah, so I mean the Padres are like the clear top stack tonight. But after that, like the bet really doesn't think anyone else is going to see that high ownership. So kind of to your question to Ice, like I don't think you need to get super weird. The Rockies, even though they're the Rockies, they do project as the second best on the slate. They're very reasonably priced. Don't even project for like crazy high ownership, like maybe 3rd or 4th on the slate. And so I really like Rockies. I think though, aside from like the Dodgers and the Braves, who are great but are expensive, so maybe you'll see depressed ownership on them, especially with so many aces on this slate. I agree with a lot of the ones that he mentioned. You know, I think the Cubs are good. I think the Mets are good. I think the Royals at their prices are really good on DraftKings tonight. You know, there's another 7 or 8 teams that you can play here. The Astros, the Rangers, the Brewers, the Rays. There's a lot of teams that are viable here. But I mean, in cash, you're loading up on Coors, and otherwise, I think I'm focusing more on like Dodgers, Mets, Royals, that kind of thing.
Okay, very good. I'm lagging here. Everything's moving slow. There we are. All right. Hey, let's go around the horn, do a little position by position. Carty, you can start us off. What do you got at catcher?
I mean, basically every position, I'm going to say play somebody in Coors, at least in cash.
Carty,
Yeah.
Can I cut in real quick? Because Eric Johnson says F Coors, and I know a lot of people are, you know, after yesterday the game finally played and then it didn't do a whole lot. It was raining the entire game, which is probably not ideal for bats. I don't think we're likely to see that scenario again where they play the entire game in the rain. So in theory, it will probably, the weather will be a little bit better hitting than it was. So I just wanted to point that out. Okay, Carty, go for it.
So I think the Coors guy here at catcher is Luis Camposano, who's in the lineup for San Diego. We still don't have a Colorado lineup. Elias Diaz will be a good one-off, will be good in your stacks if he's in the lineup. It appears he didn't get traded. He was on the block potentially. But Will Smith is always the top guy overall, definitely in your Dodger stacks, definitely as a one-off. Gary Sanchez also in Coors. And then your non-Coors guys, I don't love a lot of them, but like William Contreras, you can certainly one-off. I like Salvi Perez a lot. I mentioned KC being kind of a sneakier and good and well-priced stack today, so Salvi would be part of that. And then if you want to go really cheap, I don't think we have a lineup yet, but if Endy Rodriguez is in there for Pittsburgh, he's 2-1 on DraftKings. He's really cheap, and you can definitely just punt with him.
Okay, and the Colorado lineup just came out.
What do we got?
Diaz is cleanup.
Okay, did someone post the full lineup in chat yet? I haven't seen it.
I have not seen it, the full lineup, no.
I've got it here. It's Profar, Tovar, McMahon, Diaz, Rogers, Jones, Montera, Toglio, Doyle.
Okay.
Does that move the needle? Anything different that you weren't expecting there?
We went quick, but that sounds roughly what I was expecting. Is Rogers in there, did you say?
Yes, he's 5th.
Okay, yeah. So it's more or less what we were expecting then, I think.
Yeah, same names, I think. Maybe slightly different order.
Okay, very good. Ice, what are your thoughts at catcher?
Yeah, I like a lot of the same guys. Will Smith is clearly the top guy here for me. There's some 3 options in Coors. Campusano being my favorite because he's cheapest. Love the lineup spot for Diaz. Francisco Alvarez against Greinke. Sean Murphy is contrarian to spend up on today. Love this spot for him against the lefty. Sal Perez and Adley Rutschman you can always play. Let's see, another punt type option. Ryan Jeffers against Michaelis or Danny Jansen against Bradish are both fine.
All right, how about first base, Ice?
So Cronenworth will be the Coors guy here. Montero for the Rockies is pretty cheap if you would rather go that route. Seth Brown is one of my favorites as a lefty against Lance Lynn. I mentioned liking some of those Oakland lefties. Freddie Freeman, even though he's in a lefty-lefty matchup, totally fine to spend up on him. Vogelbach is really cheap, gets a very low strikeout Greinke, so good chance he can hit the ball hard somewhere today. Carlos Santana, one of those Milwaukee lefties that I like. Nate Lowe in a good matchup.
Okay. Carty, anything different?
I mean, those are a lot of the names that I would be looking at too. I will say on FanDuel, I think you're fine to play a catcher here. Will Smith projects above every single first baseman on this slate because he's a righty in the Dodgers lineup and he hits cleanup and he's cheaper than, your Alonsos, your Freemans, your whoever. So Will Smith, I really like on FanDuel. And I don't know if he'll get as much ownership as he should just because he's a catcher. So worth pointing out.
Okay. All right. Anything else you want to add or just kick it over to second?
I'd say Cody, did you mention Bellinger? Bellinger I like a lot as a one-offer in Cub stacks.
Okay, great. Second base, Carty.
So Mookie Betts is going to be the top overall guy here because the Dodgers are really good and Mookie Betts is really good. And he's leading off with the platoon advantage against Waldichuk. On FanDuel, you can play him basically anywhere you want, but second is usually a shallow spot. Not quite as shallow tonight because we have Ha-Sung Kim in San Diego. We have Brendan Rodgers, who's still really cheap. He's 2.5 on FanDuel. He's 2.6 on DK. He's definitely your cash guy. But in terms of pivots, tournament stuff, Marcus Semien looks great. Jose Altuve looks great. Ozzy Albies looks great. Kind of the usual top guys tonight. And because the ownership is going to flow to those Coors guys, I think you're going to get them at lower ownership than you normally would.
Gotcha. Ice, your thoughts a second?
Yeah, I love Mookie, one of the top hitters on the slate. Kim and Coors, Rogers and Coors. Jeff McNeil for the Mets. I'm targeting some Mets stacks a little bit. Kike Hernandez would be a cheap option for the Dodgers. He has outfield eligibility as well, so you can play him with bets. Julian for the Twins, I don't mind. Yep, that's about it.
Okay, then take me to third base.
All right, so Machado is in Coors. He is very, very clearly one of the best options. Chris Taylor is very cheap and a righty in the Dodgers lineup. Ryan McMahon, the other side of Coors. Muncy is a great way to differentiate Dodger stacks because he's lefty-lefty. Josh Jung for the Rangers, somebody I really like. Can certainly always play Devers and Riley. Let's see. Beatty is a cheap option for the Mets. And that'll do it.
Okay. Carty, your thoughts at third?
Yeah, obviously if you can get up to Machado, fantastic. McMahon, also fine. Austin Riley, certainly. But Maikel Garcia, I think on DK especially, you're going to need to save at a few spots. So if you're not getting all the way up to Machado, I think Garcia is totally fine. He's been leading off lately for Kansas City. He's got the platoon advantage tonight against Jose Quintana, who's kind of just so he's the guy that I really like. On FanDuel, it's easier to get up to Machado. You can play Montero at third. There's other stuff you can do. You can play Zach McKinstry, I think, too, on FanDuel at 2.5 if you need to save money. He's leading off for Detroit against Oviedo. And, yeah, I think that's kind of all my different third base thoughts.
All right, shortstop then.
Yeah, Mookie Betts, once again, who we mentioned at second, but you can play him at short on FanDuel as well. Bobby Witt is really well priced on FanDuel, hitting second against Quintana. I mentioned, I think KC is one of the better kind of sneaky, well-priced stacks tonight, or mini stacks, or even just one-offs. I mean, Bobby Witt is Bobby Witt. So I like him. You have the Colorado guys, you have Kim, you have Bogarts, and you have Tovar on the other side. I think of the three of them, Tovar is the one I like the most, especially on DK where Witt is expensive and on FanDuel he's really not. I probably prefer going down to Tovar. But yeah, that's shortstop. You can one-off, Ahmed Rosario or play him in your Dodger stacks. You can one-off Willie Adames, Dansby Swanson certainly. But I think really I'm kind of focused on the Royals and the Coors guys.
Okay. Ice, your thoughts at short?
I like spending up here. So Lindor and Bogarts are two fantastic options. Willie Adames as kind of more off the board. Carlos Correa against a low strikeout pitcher. I'm very interested in his power there. Rosario got bumped to the 4 spot in that Dodgers lineup, so very much in play. Really like his price tag and his lineup spot. Let's see here. Love the Bobby Witt call. Wander Franco, another elite guy. Rodon's had his struggles, so don't mind a few of these Tampa Bay guys. And that's it.
Okay. Then we go to the outfield. What do you like?
All right. Fernando Tatis, obviously the best hitter on the slate, probably in Coors. Juan Soto is fantastic as well. We mentioned Taylor in the infield. You can also play him in the outfield. Seth Brown was mentioned at first, can play him in the outfield as well. Jack Sawinski, somebody I really like against Matt Manning, one of those Pirates lefties. Brian Reynolds' price on DK in particular has come down quite a bit. He's only 4,300. I really like that price for him. Kike Hernandez as a cheap right-handed Dodger. Ronald Acuna, obviously. Max Kepler is really cheap. I like some of these cheap twins. They're a great way to save some money as a secondary stack, in my opinion. Grisham is another cheaper guy in Coors.
Very good. Carty, your thoughts in the outfield?
Yeah, for cash, it's Coors guys again. It's Tatis, it's Soto, it's Grisham, it's Bretton Doyle, especially on DK. I love the Sawinski call, especially on FanDuel. I think he's fantastic. DJ Stewart on FanDuel for 2-1. Do we have a Mets lineup yet? I don't think we do, but I really like cheap Mets tonight. DJ Stewart is a good way to make that happen. I like Ian Happ quite a bit. I like some of these KC guys again. Samad Taylor on FanDuel's 2-3. He's hitting 8th. He's nothing special, but it's a good spot. I really don't mind KC stuff at all tonight. Edward Olivares in the same lineup, I think, is definitely a good way. MJ Melendez, especially over on DK where he's 2-9, I like quite a bit. And Chris Taylor in the Dodgers lineup for sure. On DK, he's 3K, so I like him a lot.
Nice. Okay. This is a good time to remind the people that this show is free. That's insane. This show shouldn't be free. We should charge you a ton, but all we charge you is that we request a little thumbs up because we want the show seen by as many people as humanly possible to make our sponsor FanDuel happy. So hit us with a little thumbs up, hit a little subscribe, and hang out with us each and every day. Let's do some home run picks here, Jen. People love betting home runs. They're all about that. So Ice, I'm going to start with you. Give me a few picks. It can be for betting or just DFS purposes. Both work.
I have not checked any home run odds today, so these will be more DFS plays.
That works.
Jack Sawinski is somebody that I absolutely love today. He's pretty cheap. Using him a lot as a one-off, as well as in some Pirates mini stacks. At the top end, I will give you a let's go Luis Robert off of Andrew Heaney.
Okay, great. Carty, you got a couple picks for me?
Yeah, top guy for sure is Fernando Tatis. He'll be popular.
The Mario noise gets me every time, man. All right, sorry, continue. Tatis at the top.
Yep. In terms of more under the radar stuff, I really like Keith's Seth Brown call. You get some leverage off of Lynn. He's cheap enough. He projects pretty well for a home run tonight. In terms of betting, let's see. Number one option tonight is Adolis Garcia plus 600 at 365 DraftKings and Betway.
Okay. I feel like it's rare for the best option to have those kind of odds with multiple books. I feel like usually it's one book is off.
Yeah, actually I misread it. It's just DK and Betway.
All right.
But yeah, he's the best option tonight. So
okay. Zachary, I'm not even sure I should say this. Zachary Bell says Carty is basically Jesus. That's aggressive, but we do love him. That's a little aggressive. Could be Travis says, hey, Ice, am I crazy or am I stupid stacking the Royals in a single entry?
I think Carty would say that's a good idea. I'm not as high on the I'm not as high on the Royals today. But but they are really cheap. I would, as a mini stack, I love it, but I don't know if I would do the full stack. I need a little bit more upside.
Okay, very good. Well, let's dive into these QQs here. Make sure you're hanging out with us on the RotoGrinders Discord. I'm going to start taking questions from there. And then as we start checking all those off, I'm going to jump into the YouTube chat. So sign up for the RotoGrinders Discord if you haven't done it. These guys, these professionals here, not just them, but the whole team, we just hang out there all day. You can ask questions, you can shoot the shit with us, whatever. So make sure you are jumping in the RotoGrinders Discord. Let's see if we got any QQs flowing in the live stream channel. Carty, what do you think about a Baltimore stack in a DK single entry?
Baltimore, I'm really not on tonight. I mean, I guess you can. The angle you're taking with Baltimore is that you're hoping Ryu is not the guy he used to be. And we have no idea who he's going to be. Personally, I'd rather take the chance that he is and play Ryu, but I guess you can do Baltimore.
Yeah. All right. More questions from the RotoGrinders Discord. Scrolling up a wee bit, it is a DK cash question. Carty, I'll come right back to you here. You want Jankowski for the last outfielder or JJ Bidet?
I'm really not big on any of those guys. I would much prefer to try to find a way to get up to Brenton Doyle. Those other guys are really not. Oh, Bladay's 3K. You can just play Brenton Doyle. Do that.
Okay, there you go. Let's see what else we got here. FanDuel Cash, I'm just going to mix them up. You're smart. FanDuel Cash, Sawinski or Rosario?
I think it's Rosario in cash.
Okay. FanDuel Cash question, Carty, this one for you. It's a 2v2. Do you like Salvi and Yelich or Sawinski and Mountcastle?
Salvi, Yelich, or Sawinski and Mountcastle. Salvi, Yelich.
Okay, very good. We Want Dean says QQ for Carty looking at Braves money. This is insane. Carty, I'm looking at the Braves money line and Brazil women's team winning parlay. What are your thoughts, Carty? I'm sure you're all caught up on women's soccer.
Yeah, I don't think I can really speak to the Brazil women's team. What was it, Braves money line he's looking at?
Yes.
That does not show value.
Okay.
I would not take either side of that game. They both project as negative EV.
Okay, there you have it. But the women in Brazil are probably going to win. They sound like
probably that's soccer. A great play. Yeah.
Yeah. It sounds like a country that is probably good at women's soccer. Snowfighter says DKGVP Ice Acuna or Betts as a one-off. Oh, daddy, I like. It's Acuna though, right?
I mean, it sort of depends on the rest of your lineup. If you have no Braves or Dodgers at all, it's still close. I love the matchup for Betts today. I'm actually leaning slightly to Betts.
Ooh, okay, very nice. All right. Ice, how would you construct a Dodger stack DK single entry?
Part of what's attractive about the Dodgers today is their pricing. There's several cheap guys. We've mentioned Rosario several times, who's in the 4 spot. He's only 3,800. So I would construct it by first putting in Mookie Betts and Will Smith, because Betts is eligible at second, which is a weaker position. Smith is eligible at catcher, which is a weaker position. Love Rosario and his price and lineup spot. And then depending on how much money you have, Chris Taylor is a great option. If you have the money for Muncy or Freeman, spending up there is a fantastic way to differentiate it too. But you could just go cheap with Rosario, Taylor, and somebody like Kike.
Okay, great. Rocky Raccoon says, Cartwheel, I missed the beginning of the show because I was walking my lizard. Who are your top 2 GPP pitchers and your favorite stack on FanDuel? Thank you, Sun Daddy.
I didn't hear any of the question after lizard, because are you walking like a lizard that's like this big, or do you have like a kimono dragon that you're like walk? Because either way, it's kind of cool, but I need more info on the lizard. What was the baseball part of that?
The baseball portion of this ridiculous question was your 2 favorite GPP pitchers on FanDuel, and then your favorite stack as well.
So like outside of Strider and Lynn, I don't think anyone's really going to pick up a lot of ownership. So like I probably would just go with like I'd play Haney because I don't think he's going to have as much ownership on FanDuel as he will on DK. And then either like Framber or Gallon or somebody like that.
Okay. I'm starting to think that walking his lizard is actually a euphemism for something else, and there are no lizards involved. I don't know, but I honestly don't know.
I feel tricked.
Yeah. More questions here. One from the Grinch. He says, Samad Taylor, are these real people? DK GVP Ice, Samad Taylor or Kyle Isbell? And should I be worried about Samad Taylor being pitch hit for Ice?
I like Taylor a little bit better. I don't know their pinch hit risk offhand. Maybe Carty can pull that up for us.
That says 13%, so not super high.
Okay, there you go. DK Cash from Chinatown, Carty, E. Rodriguez, or is a Coors guy worth the extra cash there?
Who is E. Rodriguez? I'm blanking.
ND Rodriguez, catcher for Pittsburgh.
Oh, catcher. Okay. Oh, I see. Yeah. There's not really a right answer. I'm fine playing ND Rodriguez. I'm fine going up to Camposano or one of the Coors guys. Either one.
Rocky Raccoon says she's a leopard gecko. I know those. She has a very small leash. I walk her on the sidewalk to bask. I don't know if he's serious, but he makes me laugh.
It's a real lizard. I feel so much better.
There you go. I know. I do too. Jay Brunton says, Ice, how do you feel about this Oakland mini stack? Lede, SodaStream, and Gandalf.
I think that's Geloff. But yeah, I'm very much okay with the cheap Oakland stack as a mini.
Okay. Ice, FanDuel GPP, your favorite pitcher to play, is it just going up and getting Strider?
FanDuel, that was?
Yep. FanDuel GPP.
Yeah, I mean, Strider's my favorite. My favorite pivot off of that. He's going to clearly be the most popular as well. So I'll give you a pivot also. Favorite pivot is Gallon.
Okay. Sweet sauce on a pizza, yes or no, DerekCarty?
I don't know what that means. Sweet sauce on a pizza?
Like sometimes they do like barbecue sauce as a topping with chicken and stuff, maybe.
Oh, yeah, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, all right, that'll work.
Yeah, for sure.
I think that was the question. All right, Dan Jan says, any CJ Abrams as a one-off today? Carty, any CJ Abrams as a one-off today?
Not really for me.
Okay. Let's see what else we got here. Okay, Beaner says, FanDuel GPP, Ice, Rogers, or Kike?
Rogers will be quite a bit more popular, I think. He's the better play. But if you need differentiation, I'm fine with Kike too.
Okay, right back to you here in a DK GPP Ice from Steve O. You want Bradish and Muncy or Gallon and Chris Taylor?
Gallon and Taylor.
Okay, great. DK single entry GPP's Carty, and coming to you. There is actually a photo of the leopard gecko, and I now fully believe.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, there we go. All right.
I need to see the leash now, though. What kind of leash?
I would like to see the tiny harness that is that big. Yeah. DK single entry Carty. This is a GPP question. Stack in Baltimore, mini stack in San Diego. Do you prefer H. Kim and Mateo or Ramon Urias and Bogarts?
To start with, I really don't love Baltimore. I think if I was doing it, though, I would do the Urias Bogarts one, probably.
Very good. All right. T Twice says, hey, could you give a real quick rundown of the Coors weather again? I missed the initial analysis. Happy to. I think they probably have to late start, but the rain doesn't last all night like it did last night. And they played through the freaking rain all night last night. So those two factors combined make me think they're going to play. The only thing that we need to consider here is that last night they got really lucky to avoid like a flooding downpour. There was a flood watch. They missed all of those. There's a chance that one of those goes over the ballpark and just straight floods them out. There's a flood watch again tonight. I don't think that's very likely, but that is an absolutely possible thing that could happen. So it's not risk-free, but the gumption that they showed last night makes me think they're going to play, unless the weather just completely destroys them. Let's see what else we got. Okay, hey, jumping on over. We got about 5 minutes. Jumping over to the YouTube as we've caught up on those DK questions. Hit us with a little thumbs up. Not even for us, for the people asking the questions today. They deserve the thumbs up today. So hit the YouTube with a little thumbs up. Let's see what we got. Mostly just people talking about pizza. Do you have any interest in the Pirates on FanDuel, Carty?
I think they're viable, but they'd be kind of near the bottom of my list. I think if you're doing, 150 lineups or something, you have some Pirates in there, but there are teams I like more.
Okay. Ice, any Minnesota stacks for you?
I like them as a mini stack. Yes, there's some very cheap pieces in that lineup. Just pulling up to make sure. Kepler in the 3-hole is very cheap. Julian at second is cheap enough. I like Minnesota quite a bit.
Okay, great. AJ says Mountcastle or Diaz at first, Ice. This is for GPP. Mountcastle or Diaz?
Diaz at first.
Elias
Yandy Diaz or Elias. I love Mountcastle for GPPs. Like big time power has traditionally hit lefties very well. So I'll take Mountcastle, whether that's Elias or Yandy.
Okay, great. Alan says pinch hit risk for my guy Kike Carty. Mind looking that up for us, bud?
It's tough. I mean, the bat says 13%, but he hasn't been on the Dodgers very long. They weren't pinch hitting for him very much to begin with, but the Dodgers pinch hit a lot more. So I would guess the bat is kind of underselling what it should be.
Okay. All right. Good analysis. Carty, what are your thoughts on Bello or Bayo on FanDuel?
There's so many good pitchers on this slate. I don't think you need to mess with someone like that.
Okay. Fair enough. Is Joey Gallo going to get one tonight? Ice, you got Joey Gallo smacking one tonight?
Yep.
Yeah. I love it. I love the confidence. Let's go. King of Smack says, Roth, how do I become a scholar in your weather school? I want to be just like you. Get a master's degree in meteorology and you can follow in my footsteps. But there's only room for one of us in this industry, so pick something else if you don't mind. Let's see. Hoosier Sang Banner says, love the chemistry of this team. Bless. Thank you. We love and appreciate you as well. Good folks here. Good people on my left and right now. Aside says FanDuel Cash, Carty, McKinstry and Tovar or Abrams Kepler.
The first one for sure.
All right. Ice, this is a DKGPP question. We've got about 2-3 minutes until lock. Andrew Martinez says Steele and Cobb or Gallen and Michaelis.
Oof. I am not really a fan of either of those. What was the first one? Who and Cobb?
Steele and Cobb or Gallen Michaelis.
Yeah, I think I lean the first one slightly, but just Steele's priced up for his upside. He's a below average strikeout pitcher. And Cobb has a tougher matchup, a low strikeout matchup against Arizona. But I don't have any interest in Michaelis whatsoever, so I'll take the first one.
Okay, there you have it. Carty, Boston stack, yay or nay from Paul in the YouTube chat.
Boston's firmly in the mix tonight. Not one of my first choices, but if you're running a bunch of teams, you can throw some Boston in.
All right. FanDuel single entry. Ice, you want Chris Taylor and Jay Duran or Pilar and Kim?
First one.
I hope it's Chris Taylor. I just kind of assumed it's C. Taylor, right? That's okay. I should not make those assumptions since I know nothing about baseball. DKGPP Ice, Wallner or Bowers? Last spot.
Give me Wallner.
Okay. Will the Rockies put up 5 runs tonight? Question emoji, thinking emoji. Yay, over, under 5 runs. Ice, you can go first.
Over.
Carty, you're over. You're over.
Yeah, the bat projects 6.03 on average, so over for me.
Very good. All right. We're less than a minute until the lock. We've caught up on all the questions. We've done good things. The people say they love when Roth punches the screen and says, "You have been crunched." Well, guess what, my friends? It's coming. Hey, for Carty and for Ice and for our wonderful production crew, always working hard behind the scenes, guys, we do appreciate you. We do love you. We will catch you tomorrow. You have been crunched.